and we're on. So good to see you.
So good to actually physically see someone in like face to face these days.
Where are you these days?
So I am still living in Alaska, like legally. I rented an apartment and everything.
Okay, so that's your legal residence.
My legal residence.
So
However,
so you're not coming home to Atlanta. You're visiting Atlanta.
I am visiting Atlanta for maybe a year.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
So yeah, but that's here nor there.
Does
But Alaska's my home.
Is that what does that depend on? November 3rd?
Work.
On work, yeah.
Yeah. So my winter job wanted me back, and I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
So I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah. So confusing.
You mean you couldn't say yes?
I couldn't say no to not coming to Atlanta for work.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So I'm here, and I'm just going to kind of take it in stride and see how it goes. But, my place that I love that brings me peace is definitely being in Alaska.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those places people either love or they don't, and I love it. So
I still haven't been there. I
gotta visit.
Yeah, I know. I've been to, and I gotta do the count. I think I've been to 43 states now.
Oh, nice.
And I'm 44, and I want to hit all 50 by the time I'm 50.
Get to trucking, dude.
But I want to save Alaska and Hawaii for the very end.
Right. So I think Alaska and Hawaii would be a good choice for the end because once you're on the West Coast, you could kind of do them in a one-stop shop.
I knocked out 2 recently. I went to Denver.
Okay.
I took a train to Salt Lake City.
Nice.
I had never been to Utah. While I was in Denver, I showed up to Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Wyoming, yeah.
So that's one that I was missing. Then took the train over to Salt Lake City and drove down to Las Vegas.
That was a good one. I actually just drove back from Portland.
Okay. Wow.
I bought a vehicle out west and drove it back to Atlanta. So you hit up like a really good little like quadrant because it was all those states that why would you ever go to Wyoming? Why would you ever go to, people go to Las Vegas, but they miss all that juicy stuff between Las Vegas and even going between Las Vegas and California coast. There's so much natural beauty in that area that people just don't get to see.
It's ironic you would call it juicy because it's very dry.
It's dry.
It's very dry.
It's dry. So let's see here. You went from Colorado over to Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
We did.
Which is beautiful. That section right there. Anybody who's listening, please get on Amtrak and go through that. It's just such a beautiful panorama. I think that whole run, I don't know what they call it, from Chicago to San Francisco is the most beautiful train ride you can take in the United States.
As long as it doesn't go through Kansas, I could definitely agree with that. Which is the most boring scenery in the United States. Sorry.
Maybe they've done it at night because it does run.
Oh, that's when. Okay, that makes sense.
If somebody's on their toes.
So we actually intentionally did not drive through Kansas because I was like, if you have seen it once, you're good.
Yeah. I went to see a football game one time in Kansas.
Oh, okay. So you got that one off the list. Good. Who, do you remember?
It was Georgia Tech.
Whoa.
Playing
College football.
University of Kansas.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was a sweet one.
Rock, sock, jock, I don't know. They've got some expression.
I don't know that one.
It's like War Eagle.
Okay.
Okay. Rock, sock, jock, Jayhawks. I don't.
Oh, yeah. That sounds about right. Jayhawks part.
Sure.
I don't know.
We had a good time.
Good. I lived in Kansas and Nebraska as a kid, so I'm kind of like, I don't ever have to see any of that again. They're just like a couple of states that could just, they don't have to be on the tour.
Where haven't you lived?
I've lived in 14 states. I have traveled I haven't been to North Dakota. I haven't been to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And then there's some of those New England states I haven't been to up past Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So I got a few I need to check off my list as well.
Yeah.
I'm still checking them off.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe next year I'll hit like North Dakota, South Dakota, Minneapolis. I could have gone to see the Spam Museum, the Spam Factory in Minneapolis.
I was thinking Prince, but Spam's
That's
great.
yeah. I don't want to knock Prince. It's just. It's just, I'm trying to be a comedian. And Chappelle already covered Prince.
Okay. All right. There's so much more material out
And
here.
there's so much material for Spam.
But I definitely think that, like, between trains and renting RVs, there's so many, like, I mean, speaking of Spam, like, quirky things to see.
You drove
on the
back
road.
from Portland.
Right.
And what route did you take?
It's squiggly.
Squiggly. Okay.
So we came through Idaho, Boise,
Yeah.
and then dropped down to Salt Lake City, from Salt Lake City across to Moab. So it was like that beautiful kind of like those rock formations. And then, there's like, I think 5 national parks in a row that go down from Moab down to that lower corner that they call like the Four Corners, where it's Utah,
Nevada.
Mexico, Nevada, all kind of mixed in Colorado.
Yeah.
And then we cut across Durango. And then down to Taos, New Mexico. Went to hot springs in the Rio Grande. What? And then from there, it was like more boring through Oklahoma, which is fine. It was lots of farmland.
No, you need the contrast.
Right.
You can't just go, 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 go.
It was so beautiful. We had to have like dumb it down for like a whole entire 20 hours.
You need the palate cleanser. Just like
that we needed to do. But it was actually really refreshing to get back to the green.
Yeah.
On the East Coast, Midwest, East, Arkansas, Tennessee. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Don't be, man. You got packs of time. There's plenty of road.
God, ages ago, right? Almost 2 decades ago, it feels like. I had a friend who was moving to Seattle, and she's like, yeah, I'm going to drive there. She had this little, you remember the Volkswagen Beetle?
Oh, yes.
When it came out again?
Oh, yeah.
She must have been number 7 on the list here in Atlanta. Oh, yeah. I met the car on campus before I met the girl.
Are you the one with the bug? Do you have that car? Like everyone wanted that car.
Sarah, oh my gosh, she was such a trip.
So she put like 2,500 miles on her car straight out the gate.
No. This was later.
Okay,
this was years later.
Okay.
We had graduated. We were friends. We had parties. Blah blah blah. And then she's like, like I'm unemployed right now. Like I was unemployed as well at the time. And she's like, I'm just gonna move to Seattle. I'm not doing anything here. Might as well do nothing in Seattle.
That sounds great.
And figure stuff out. And I was like, oh, if you want somebody to drive along with you, I'll go. And she's like, oh, okay.
You jumped in the car and you went.
So yeah.
Awesome.
The ridiculous part of it is that she left on a Monday morning. We left on a Monday morning. I had a tango weekend in New Orleans. So I drove down to New Orleans, spent the weekend dancing, then drove back on Sunday. I slept like 2-3 hours, and then I woke up at 6 to meet her at her place at 7 to take off. And but we kind of did an L.
Okay.
And it took us almost a week. We stopped. It was Dallas or I think it was Houston. We stopped in New Orleans. In Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped at Berkeley, which was a wonderful visit. And and then we just kind of shot up. I can't remember if we stopped in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
But it was great. I mean, most of those states I had already covered,
Right.
so I couldn't add to my list.
But there's always it's so epic road trips are. There's like, it's going to go great and something happens. We're expecting something to happen and it goes great. Like there's always, and then did you see wildlife? Like, what do you see? So we on our trip, we stopped and we saw this whole like gang of turkeys.
A gang of turkeys.
It was what's the official? I don't know.
I don't know.
But it was a gang of turkeys. I was like, what are those ginormous birds on the side of the road? And it was like this huge pod of turkeys, wild turkeys. So we slowed way down.
Yeah.
And we were like heckling them. And they all looked at us and then they took off like, what the heck?
The only one I know, it's murder. It's a murder of crows.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought they had a special name like that, but I don't remember.
Yeah. And
Something to Google.
and then somebody told me the other day for Karens, it's an HOA. It's
I was not ready for that. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Stupid.
I was so not ready for that.
So that's the only one.
Okay. That's a good one. I have to say that, like, times like these have gotten me through this whole entire 2020. Just laughing uncontrollably. We need it so bad. Thank you.
Oh man, have you had ups and downs?
I've actually had ups. You know, summer was a little rough. You know, it was nice to actually be. I call Alaska my bubble. It was nice to be in my bubble during all of the turmoil that was going on in the lower 48. I kind of felt like I was out of pocket for my people, and you know, it's just like super heavy. But in the same breath, like, I live in a birch forest. I can drive less than an hour away, be in a place that's unpopulated. I can harvest, you know, all types of berries and mushrooms and all types of things. So just from the earth healing is so magical. So when I got low, I just went to nature. Yeah. And it was great. And I have great friends there as well. So that's good, is, you know, to kind of help pull through the rough times. But this summer was definitely, I feel like, a time to, like, be there for your friends.
Yeah. If you could, because I think a lot of people just couldn't, like, they had to be there first for themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Not in a egotistical manner, but, like, you know, put your mask on before helping others. It was very difficult for me at first. But then I discovered the lake, and we went to the lake several times, and that really helped. But those first weeks, I mean, you guys were not quarantined, right? Like, you could do whatever you wanted.
Alaska is one of those states. You get off the plane and they, like, accost you. Have you taken your test? Do you have proof? Mandatory 14-day quarantine.
Oh, really?
So when I first got there, they had just lifted the quarantine. Okay. And then numbers started rising, so they placed the quarantine again. Yeah. I went to California to work, and I come back, and I was like, oh, my gosh, these people are, like, attacking us as soon as we get off the airplane. Yeah. And, like, for Alaska residents, your test is free. You're still expected to quarantine for 14 days. Okay. My office is on a military base, so they were like, negative or not, you're not coming on base for 14 days. So we had to telework for 2 weeks. Okay. We were all negative, but we couldn't go on base. So, yeah, it was just interesting. They put the smack down pretty early. There was no tourism or any of that. Really? But
they're so Republican, or that's the impression that I...
So they are, but Fairbanks is kind of like Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. And I'm going to ask you a lot of stupid questions.
That's fine. Let's go for it.
Because Alaska, to me, might as well be a different country.
It is. Yeah. But it ain't.
Right.
It is, but it ain't.
Like Puerto Rico.
Exactly. Very Republican. Yeah. Very, very. But it's kind of like the city of Fairbanks is kind of like Atlanta. They're highly educated people who actually, like, pay attention to, you know, like, I don't want to say news because there's so much fake news out there. They pay attention to what's going on in the world outside of themselves. Yeah. There were friends I didn't see all summer because they were like, no, I'm not meeting people in person. Yeah. And then there were a whole lot of people who just didn't care, and they were like, whatever. So you did have both of those sides of it. Yeah. But the state itself did put mandates in place. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's fantastic.
Which surprised me coming back here. I was like, you need to tell me. I'm thinking Alaska is like loosey-goosey. And then I get back here and I'm like, Oh, no one cares.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say nobody cares because I've reached out to a lot of friends to see like, hey, you want to meet at a park or because I don't know, on a scale of 10, I'm maybe at a 7 or 8. Like I'm just not gonna stay home the whole friggin' time.
Right.
I'll commit suicide. It's gonna be a murder suicide.
Like, I'm killing myself by murder. But it's healthy to get outside. It's super healthy. That's how we met. Playing outside.
That's right.
Chasing Cheetos.
Yeah. Yeah, it just kind of, yeah, I need to go walk or ride a bike. My guilty pleasure was going to the supermarket, and now it's a little bit more relaxed. We'll go for a drive. We'll go to the lake. I still, if there's too many people, I won't go near. Mm-hmm. And I think I've eaten inside of a restaurant once, maybe twice, but usually it's outside. I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I need to talk to people. I need to see people.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch my puppies at home, and they all cuddle up on top of each other. It's a part of being a living being with each other. You know?
And you're out in Alaska, and it all sounds wonderful to visit.
Yeah.
But I just can't be without people.
Okay, let me hear. I have 2 roommates. I'm never without people. Okay. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So, questions about Alaska?
Yes, of course. And I might answer them kind of silly just because I get a lot of silly questions about Alaska.
This is supposed to be a comedy podcast.
Oh, okay. Let's do this. Don't believe a word coming out of my mouth. Let's go for it.
I don't know. I'm still working this out. I guess I kind of want something like The Daily Show, that it's serious stuff, but still kind of make light of it.
Right.
But, okay, so your Anchorage is the capital.
Anchorage is not the capital. Bing, bing.
Okay, no, it's Fairbanks.
It is not.
Juneau?
Do you know? There you go.
But Anchorage is the biggest city.
Anchorage and Fairbanks, yes.
And Fairbanks.
Right.
Okay. Are they like twin cities? No. No.
Twins that don't look alike. Fraternal.
Okay, fraternal twins.
Yes,
all right.
Twins.
Okay. So who's the bad boy or who's the bad girl city? Or how do you differentiate them?
Anchorage gets a lot of flack.
Okay.
Their homeless population is a little bit higher. It's the city that people can get to from that southern, more populated area. Mm-hmm. Cruise ships dock there, so they just get all the glitz and glam. They are like the city.
Okay.
But when you get there, you're like, oh, okay. This is where what I always said about Fairbanks. This is where strip malls go to die. Great.
Okay.
It's just kind of visually shocking.
Yeah.
But the ocean is there, so that's a draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how close are you to the water?
In Fairbanks, I'm not. But in Anchorage.
Any water? So how many homes do you have now?
2. This is funny. So I have, I feel like I have stuff everywhere, and I'm trying to corral this. But I have things in Fairbanks that I've been moving in and out of a dorm room for 4 years.
Okay.
Hence getting an apartment with roommates.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Murphy's Law. As soon as you're like, I'm about to set some roots down and unpack my things, you get a call from Atlanta saying, we would love to have you back this winter. So here we go. Yeah, so I've got things in 2 places, but I'll have that dialed in a couple of years, I think.
Yeah. Or not. Or not.
I mean, who knows?
Couple decades, perhaps.
People do this all the time.
Yeah.
It's not that strange.
So I have to confess that I still have stuff at 3 different houses that I've lived in that I have as rentals now.
No judgment. None.
Just some books, some I think I have a pressure washer.
You need that. You can't get rid of that.
I just don't have space for it here.
Dude, I live in Alaska. Where you pull up to somebody's house and you're like, they've got 3 cars that they used to drive. You might need parts. A freezer on the front porch, maybe a sofa.
Okay.
I mean, these things we might need, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just never know.
And or we might be using right now.
You never know.
It's yeah, and we don't have space for them somewhere else.
Exactly. No judgment here.
Good. So in case we're not doing video, I'll point out to people that don't know you that you're black.
I'm brown American.
Brown American, yeah. So you might stand out in Alaska.
So I love this question.
Is there a like a browner American, non-native brown American club?
You just took it. So the natives, a lot of the natives are a little bit more tan-skinned.
Right.
You stole my thunder on that one. I couldn't wait. I'm like, there are tons of brown people in Alaska. And then there are a lot of natives that are actually very, very fair.
Okay.
Because people have been blending for, decades at this point. So I was very surprised this summer.
Yeah.
Mid quarantine, everybody's still supposed to be staying at home. I had a birthday, and I hadn't been out. I've worked in a small village for the past 4 summers, so going to the local bar would be like, going across the Thumbs Up or something to go have like a cocktail at the local place, and it's the only place to go because it's the only place.
Right.
We don't have choices. So this year I'm like, I can't wait to be in town with my friends. COVID, I don't have any friends. So my birthday rolls around. I'm like, I'm going to have friends and I'm going to do something. And it just so happened to be 2 other people's birthdays. So we had this rolling 3-person birthday party that started on one person's birthday, mine, and then the next person on the 3rd day, all there together.
Nice.
So we decided to go to this little scoot the boot country place to go line dance. And I was like, as discussed, I am not the person that likes country music. I love music. It's just not my favorite. But I was like, okay, we'll go to the line dancing place, whatever. So we were there, and I'm like, I'm not going to dance because I have 2 left feet when it comes to all that organized dancing situation. And my friend who hates music comes, and she's like, Indra, you have got to come back here. And I'm like, back where? I'm like, oh my God, does she have like a secret drug problem and she's trying to drag me to the bathroom? I'm like, what is she talking about? So she pulls me by my hand off the dance floor, side of the dance floor, takes me through this doorway, and I was like, oh my goodness, a room full of brown people dancing to trap music, and I almost fainted. I was like, yes. I look up, and my friends are, like, going back and forth to the other room, and I'm just like, okay, go. I'll be fine. And the dance floor just, like, smiling. I was in heaven. The next day, I took probably half a bottle of immune wellness formula because I was like, I was in a room without ventilation, dancing body to body with sweaty humans. I'm going to die. I was fine.
Good.
But there are tons of brown people in Fairbanks.
Yeah.
And I never knew till that night, like how many, like I saw like here and there, like open mic night at the little bar from time to time. But I had no idea that we could pack out a whole entire room.
Wow.
And it was like maybe a room twice this size.
Yeah.
I was in heaven. I was like, I have died and gone to Atlanta in like 2 seconds. This is amazing.
I'll confess, I've met a few girls that have moved here to Atlanta from Seattle. And every single time I'm like, there's black people in Seattle?
Honey, we are like the Asians. We everywhere.
I thought you were going to say the Mexicans.
We're everywhere.
You say Asians, I say the Mexicans, you say potato.
Tomato, potato.
Asians, Mexicans. When I first moved to Atlanta, I started seeing some groups of Mexicans, and I'm like, this is not what Granted, when there's a lot of stories that I tell when I go back home, and I'm like, when I first moved to Atlanta, I thought it was this, but it was that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Sorry.
I think that's the beauty of actually like traveling and getting out of your familiar. You look up and you're
You
like,
have to.
oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah. It's and I never think I feel stupid every time I go back and notice it. But if you're like in San Francisco and Portland and Seattle, there's so many Asians, and of course, that's their border. If I don't know what else to call it, their frontier.
Point of entry, yeah.
Yeah, the port of entry, whatever. Um, but they're not represented on TV, and or I guess movies a little bit. But you forget about it, and you have to travel. You have to. I remember one time in New Mexico, I saw this lady, and I prejudged her. I don't know what I forget the term, but I started talking to her in Spanish because she just looked as Mexican as she could, and she was Native American, and she gave me a look, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Just
Take it as a compliment. I thought we were related.
and
I want you on my side, my posse.
no, and I have a contractor also looks as Mexican as and grant with the normal disclaimers. There's white Mexicans. There's very dark Mexicans. The Mexicans look of all types. But if you close your eyes and you think of a Mexican, right. You could see this contractor. Well, he's not Mexican. His family was Mexican, and then the border crossed. Then where they lived in Texas, stopped being part of Mexico, started being part of the United States.
Right.
And his Spanish is awful. And a sweet guy, great, fantastic guy. And everybody in his family, there's towns near where he lives that everybody's just kind of looks Mexican because they. I'm not explaining this well.
No, I
perhaps.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
totally
generations
get it.
of generations, and they've been generations of Americans. I've got another friend, Jennifer. Well, she probably hates me. I'm not going to say her last name, but she's from.
But we're still friends.
Well, one of these days I'll go talk to her, apologize,
Right.
and I'm not going to dwell on this. It's, but she used to tell me about this where she grew up, where there's towns where everybody speaks Spanish. Mm-hmm. And the laws and all the signs are in Spanish, and she's from the United States, from New Mexico, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it's just been like that. There hasn't been that many Anglos moving in and blending, and it's just a tradition. People speak Spanish over there, and they're as American as could be.
Yeah. I feel like as an American, a brown American, we've been just like shoveled this whole entire dump truck full of poop on what it is to be an American, right? So when you get on the road and drive, and when you travel, just in the United States, it doesn't matter what state you're in. If you're off the beaten path, off that like tourist trap row, and you're like with the people, you see everybody. If you go to the grocery store, the local grocery store always tells like the truth of who's there. And you get to see the realness of where you are. Yeah. I almost went on
but it's important to go out and see people and see how they live. And part of that, my stretch from Bonneville, where the Bonneville salt flats are, leaving Salt Lake City, you just shoot straight down. Once you hit the salt flats, and there's nothing, and then there's a couple little towns, and a bunch of Trump signs, but there's no industry, and you wonder where do these people live, work, what do they do?
I always ask that question.
A lot of trailer parks, a lot of poor people, I hate to say it, but just sad. Just
Yeah.
like a sad state of affairs.
It's so interesting you would bring that up. So the last time I drove across the United States from Atlanta to Fairbanks was in 2016, and it was before the election.
Uh-huh.
And then I drove back after the election.
Oh,
And
same route,
more
more or less? Yeah.
or less. This time I varied the route coming from Portland back to Atlanta. And I did notice something very, very, in my mind, it stood out. So I'm very visual. Like I have like a very photographic mind with maps and stuff. So I'm always excited to see like, oh, I'm driving through this town again. Has anything popped up? What's going to be different? The thing that I noticed that was different. So, the last presidential election, there were all of these huge Trump signs and Hillary signs would be punched out and, all this stuff, right? So this time I wasn't looking for it, but I noticed there were like tiny little signs for Biden Harris, huge Trump signs. But the thing I did not see, I may have seen once, was a Confederate flag. So I noticed a lot of Confederate flags have come down,
Okay.
maybe replaced with this huge banner of Trump sign
Okay. Yeah.
or little banners, But I didn't see half the Confederate flags, not even like a small percentage. Just like I literally remember a couple.
Yeah.
And I didn't see the huge like billboards throughout. I think I saw the first billboards once I got to Atlanta
Okay.
for either of the people
Candidates.
that we're voting for, which kind of was interesting to me, especially in these really small markets.
Yeah.
Where, like we said, like what do these people do? Like what good has happened in the last 3 years to this town? I didn't see as much in those towns of those huge like rows and rows and rows and rows of signs. It was more on like private property.
Right.
You would see the one sign. So I found that to be pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
I'd love to know like I'm sure there's like psychological studies going on with all of this type of stuff. There's probably something behind all of these, ways people express what they believe. But it's just interesting to see that shift, that people aren't as open
Yeah.
with what their belief is for this particular election, or they may have, I just find that fascinating.
Even in an area that is so pro-Trump, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Midwest kind of Oklahoma, Texas.
Yeah.
Lower Colorado surprised me, because I've always thought Colorado's like very forward thinking. And
Yeah.
I mean, they legalize weed. I mean, they're one of those states that's like, if you can legalize weed, you're down for everybody. Like,
Right.
we're cool, right? So yeah, it was just fascinating to kind of see.
Colorado's very evangelical, from what I understand.
Yeah, but I'm stumped.
It's yeah, I don't know. There's so many discrepancies.
Yeah.
Between what people say they believe in and what they do support.
Right. I think I saw some of the biggest marijuana flags in Colorado, bigger than any of the presidential candidate flags. The marijuana flags were ginormous.
And every time I drive down by Tampa on 75, there's a humongous Confederate flag. And I'm thinking, Tampa? Seriously? Like,
Florida's was one of the last states to like stop lynching people. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I know that's where the term cracker comes from.
So we've got all these things that mixed
But
up in our.
there's so many Cubans and so many people.
Which surprises me.
Colombians and Venezuelans, and now Orlando's packed with Puerto Ricans.
Right.
And Tampa also has a good number of. I think Tampa has like a good blend.
Yeah. But I feel like it's always those immigrants are like the ones that have arrived, so they're a little bit more bourgeois.
Oh,
is why we see these flags.
not so much. Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I do know of a lot of immigrants that are anti-immigrant,
Which is interesting.
which just blows my mind. Like I'm in the boat. It's almost like it's like an emergency boat,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's no room. And it's like no, you're in firm land.
Like
you're not on a
crabs in
boat.
bucket. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to kick anybody out of the boat.
Yeah. I think it would be the best experiment to pull the rug and every single immigrant not work for like 24 hours.
Somebody made a movie about that.
Oh my God, that'd be beautiful.
The day Mexicans disappeared.
Oh
I think.
my gosh. People have to keep their own children. Kind of like the COVID.
I've been down in farms in South Georgia, and I've learned that a lot of those it's a tricky term because a farmer down in South Georgia might have a plot of land that's as big as the city of Decatur.
Right.
And they rely on these, I cannot consider them modern day slaves because these are people that kind of jump from town to town and they'll work these fields picking tomatoes or corn or something else. And then they'll be there for a couple months. And then they'll go down to Maine or Michigan or down to, in the winter, they go down to Immokalee in Florida. And I used to go with like a medical service that would train students and offer free clinics for these migrant workers, which is it's a great service because otherwise those people they have to work so hard so much that they don't have the time off to go take care of medical issues, or they might not have the money or the resources to. If it's something where you need to go back to the clinic over and over, they just don't take care of that.
Yeah.
So, sorry. But going back, some of these farmers that have thousands of acres, they're against immigration policies. But that's very, kind of kept on the down low.
They're ungrateful.
Because otherwise they just don't. No, they're very grateful for these workers.
Right, but they don't see the whole picture past what they're profiting from these workers. Like if they didn't have these people, they wouldn't have their success and wealth.
Yeah.
We can all flourish, I feel like there's plenty. There's plenty. We can all flourish.
It bothers me that there's so much conflict that gets created, I guess, just for show.
Right.
To keep busy instead of actually solving the problem. And it's not like we're going to run out of problems.
There's always going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
But because some loudmouth is complaining about this one thing, we got to take care of that.
Yeah. Yeah. When are you going to run for office?
I can't. I'm pretty sure you have some pictures.
Well, neither can I.
That I cannot afford.
So here we are. We'll just do our part. Just do the best we can. We'll just do the best.
No, I got to leave room for people like Warnock.
Right.
Reverend Warnock, I hope that he does well.
I was proud to see him on the ballot. I did actually. I made sure I came back to Atlanta in time to vote.
Yeah, good.
I did not want to change any of that until after this election. I didn't want to leave room for a ballot getting lost or there's question or, well, you didn't change it, so it's too late. Nope. Probably my first 48 hours in Georgia went on down, voted.
Damn, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you did it in person. You didn't do
I went in person. Yeah. I mean, I think that was probably the first weekend that the polls were open for, the next 14 days the polls will be open.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was like, and I took my daughter. I was like, yes, you're registered. Let's go.
You're doing it.
Right. She's like, I don't even know. I'm like, well, we'll find out. Which is kind of weird because, like, when you get a driver's license, it's one of those boxes that you tick.
Yeah.
You don't realize that you have voted, that you've registered yourself to vote. And you're going to be
and to donate your organs.
Right. So, as I go to the polls to get chopped up and divvied out, just want a one-stop shop.
Wait, so your daughter was not sure she was going to vote?
No, she didn't know that she was registered to vote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I hope she wanted to vote.
She wanted to vote. She wanted to vote, for sure.
I worry about the kids.
I know. And I was like, well, that's interesting because, she's lived in New York and DC, so she's been a little not transient, but young people transient.
Yeah.
So I can understand why she would wonder if she was registered. But think about how many, especially like college students who may not live on campus, that they may not have the just like peer pressure from friends to make sure they vote. I mean, I think there's a whole window of young people that may be slipping.
When I was in college, it was very easy. They would set up the student center, and you could go vote. And
that's too easy. We can't have people just rolling up to vote like that. You know that. Need to make people work for it.
Yeah.
Stand in line 2 hours or more.
I think my record was 1 hour.
Yeah, I think even the first, was it 2008, the first Obama election? I think I stood in line for like 45 minutes, and I was like, wow, this is a long time.
But how is this still happening? There's so many things in the last 4 years that I keep going like, it's 2020 or it's 2018. How is this still a thing?
My summer job is a government job. And the way we do our time, submit our time, I'm like, somebody made a lot of money for a really, really bad program. Like, it's like pulling teeth every 2 weeks when you sit down to submit your time. So, like, people can move money, buy houses, send their kids to school, buy plane tickets, whatever you want to do on your phone, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are all kind of ways. You can enter a drawing on your phone and only register once, because they've built something in the program to where you can only register once. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
So why can't we just vote from our kitchen table on our phone on an app that says we're done and your social security number can't be used again or whatever it is? Like, it makes no sense to me.
I'm registered with the state. This is your precinct. This is who the candidates are. Just do a little Dropbox, boop boop boop, like in Puerto Rico, you have everybody's in columns, and it's like, all right, so you could say Republican Party, Democrat Party, and you just do an X
Right.
at the very top, and then just down the line,
Done.
Yeah, I hope they haven't changed that. It's such a simple method. There's no confusion. There's no hanging chads. You just put in. You don't need to learn how to. You don't have to know how to read. You just, it helps if you want to vote all one party and then this one guy from another party, which everybody can do.
Right. Yeah, I think that's another one of our things in America that could be tightened up a bit. Doesn't have to be that hard.
All right. I'm done with politics.
I know, it's so hard. So we're not going to talk about politics or COVID anymore. Let's see here.
All
magical things.
So why... I feel like you've answered already why Alaska is so magical.
Just access to nature.
You know me a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, so I have to... Can we talk about that one group?
Okay, but it's a secret, so y'all can't tell anybody.
All right. So... We won't name any names, but do you do that there?
I do not do that there because it's not an active group, unfortunately. Okay. But I've been looking, keeping an ear out, so whenever they do a pop-up, I guess I'll go.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Mm-hmm. I haven't in 5 years.
Yeah, I'm probably about 4 or 5 years myself.
Yeah, there's a little group of us that just like, no, we just don't,
Well, because it was a golden time when we did.
It was so good.
But we're still friends with so many of these people,
Yeah, absolutely.
They're like family.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, this is funny, like years ago, my daughter was still in college or high school. I can't remember. She was on the interstate and blew a flat, and I was finishing work, and I put it on Facebook. Is anybody in the vicinity of these quadrants? My child's on the side of the road. Can somebody help?
Yeah.
I just so happened to get there before help arrived.
Yeah.
And we called, was that 511 or whatever, where the State Farm truck pulls up.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I looked at my phone and had missed like all these messages, and it was all people from the group. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
What do you need? I mean, like, the first questions, how can I help you?
Right. Yeah, a lot of good people.
Great people. Great
Yeah.
people. I think that was like probably one of the best windows of my life. I mean, if it wasn't for that group, I never would have started seriously running. I never would have started a community group running. I never would have run like these crazy races that I used to do.
Yeah.
And still all of that, it's like a web of people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that we'll never lose touch with, and they're great people. And
Yeah, it's my wife Kate will talk about back when I used to live in this area, and she that's a similar window for her,
right.
where she met all kinds of people, artists and musicians and blah blah blah, and she's still friends with some of them, and that's all the time it's like, oh, back when I lived over here, oh, back when it's
Yeah, it was a golden time.
a lot of stories, a lot of good times, a lot of good people. But you got to grow
Yeah.
and move on and do
Yeah.
other things.
Yeah.
I kind of stopped doing it, and then it's like, oh, there's 7 days in the week.
Right, because we were doing that like 6 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
some of us,
Sometimes.
and it was time consuming. That was the thing I realized, how time consuming it was, because it wasn't just the activity; it was the social part. So every single event was an event.
I would do it 2 to 3 times a week. Then Saturdays were shot because I would go get supplies, I'd then go do what we did, hang out, and then there was always some party or somebody had a pool or
The on after.
or we just didn't move. We just stayed
Right,
there
right,
drinking and
Right.
and then I'd go. I don't know if it was my first time or my second time. I got home around 6, and I had been invited to go to a party afterwards. And I took a shower. I was going to get ready and just change. And then I sat down on my bed for a minute, and then it was 9 a.m. It was just so.
That was my first one. I laid across the bed after my shower, and I woke up the next day.
Yeah.
But it was like a good, like, my body had really worked out. I did something I didn't think I would do. It was dirty. It was like, it was just a lot to process. And then at the end, I couldn't take it all. I was like, what is happening here? You want me to put my mouth on that cup? It was a lot. But that was probably like 4 or 5 years of our lives. It was a good chunk.
Yeah. Almost 10 for me.
Yeah. Maybe more. Yeah. It was a good chunk.
Yeah. And no, but all kinds of social classes and different types of people and young and old, and I love the privacy of it. I don't like that a lot. Sometimes I get invited to Facebook groups and this and that, and it's like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
It's like I need to keep some distance, and we took a lot of pictures, but a lot of people now put them on Facebook or Instagram. And
back then, it was just like these pictures we would just have and save for like
a slideshow for
like a dance
for a
or something, a
prom.
prom or something. Yeah. But there was no judgment. Nobody cared what you did for a living.
Right.
You were rarely.
There was
asked.
a lot of judgment.
Well, the judgment was good. It was the best kind of judgment. It was like, yeah, I busted it.
Wait, those are new shoes? Oh, how fancy of you.
The best kind of judgment. Wait, you're dead last in this. Oh. Are you overachieving?
You got here first? Oh, what a savage.
Even when I became a better runner, I never really wanted to be first. I always said the ones that were dead in the last had the best stories. So I just was like, be humble. You don't want to be first. And you don't really want to be last either, but you don't want to be first.
On a serious note, there was a time that it was magical, where just independently. I mean, everybody was great, but sometimes I'd be out there, and I'd be like, oh, I'm not thinking about women. I'm not thinking about family. I'm not thinking about work, money, nothing. It's just me out there. Um, maybe that other
Right.
guy.
Right.
Yeah, I would love to have something like that again.
Right. I think it was a little
Uh,
utopia in a strange way. I think it's so funny because you say that, and I'm thinking about myself and some of the other people that I'm still close to. And it got us through some of the most horrific times in life
yeah,
and some of the most joyous times of life we shared, you know? So I think there was a little sweet spot there doing the thing that we don't talk about.
the private thing that probably a million people by now
Yeah,
do all over the
probably.
world.
Probably. Ironically, so this girl that visits one of my roommates, we were just kind of chit chatting. I'd never met her before, and she lived where it started.
Ah,
And she also, we didn't talk about the thing, but
yeah.
we realized from the same pod, man.
Okay, yeah.
Like it was so. She said one thing, and I was like, on, and it was just a wrap. Like
Yeah.
we instantly knew that we both spoke this language.
It helped me out one time immensely because this was in Tampa. I had done a cruise with these people. I don't know, a year or two before that, and I'm at the end of a rotation for work. I haven't received any expense checks. I'm, I didn't have very good money management, and I was just, I didn't have any money. I was broke, and I was trying to rent a car for a week. And the guy's, running some credit cards, doing this, doing that, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, just, I don't know. He looks familiar. He
Right.
just, and he's like, no, sorry, this card is maxed out, or this and that. Like you could do this or you can do that, and I'm in my head trying to
Right.
figure out, okay, maybe I can use a personal card. No, that's good.
Right.
So and so borrowed so, and then it hits me where I know this guy from, and I look at him, and I said something like, "Oh man, is there anything you can do? Because I need to go on and on, go on." And then I said something else, and he's like, "Oh, oh, let me try something out." Boom, I got
Right.
approved. I
Right.
got my yeah.
Right. Right.
Uh,
It's
and I,
it's the most magical web of people
yeah,
that we would never know under any other circumstance. More than likely, like
Yeah.
how random is this? Remember when one of our favorite people who has a bunch of cats was ill and in
Oh.
the hospital?
right before all of this.
Yes, right before all of this, and we knew that they had gone to this other market
Yeah,
to spend time with these people. So they don't know me. I reach out to them on
Yeah.
Facebook, and I was like, "You don't know me, but you know this person. Well, actually, you know this person,
yeah,
and this person is, recovering
Yeah.
from something major. And I think if you guys sent some messages, it would make them smile." And they messaged me back and approved my, I could be in the group now on Facebook, this private group. And they actually were like, "What does he need?"
yeah,
They were interested. Like they remembered this person that had come to their group years before and still supported from afar.
Yeah.
They don't know me from a can of paint,
Right.
But it didn't matter because it was about this person.
yeah. It was wonderful, and I need to follow up on him.
That's who needs to run for president. Someone from the group.
That's a different podcast.
Oh, no politics. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It would be magical.
Oh man. Let's do this again sometime.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Don't wait in
I'll
the
bring
car.
I'll bring my stand up routine ready next time.
You have a type 5?
I don't know. It's just a silly thing. It's just a silly thing. I should have been more joyous. But yeah, we'll do it again, and I'll bring.
How
the
could
heat.
you be more joyous?
I mean, we talked about stuff that was a little bummerish, but you know.
Hey, you need the light with the darkness.
Sweet.
And you need the sweet with the salty.
Sounds great. I would love to come back.
Yes.
This is great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I don't know what else to say. I hope we do the video. I'm gonna put all this junk in the.
That would be awesome.
If you send me some pictures.
Sweet.
It's
I'll send you some little pictures or yeah. Oh yeah, can't wait.
I'll take some of the pictures from the group and black out the whole thing except for the eyes.
That would be amazing.
I'll do the reverse censorship strip.
That would be amazing.
Eyes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, Indra, thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thanks for inviting me.